Spell wheels and gallows.
She's gonna use that gavel as much as she can.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight, such a special night. Well, it's 6 o'clock and I'm calling tonight's meeting, or 5 o'clock, sorry, and I'm coming tonight's meeting to order. And I see that all the board members are here, so if you please join me on the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brief acknowledgement of land and life. Sunnyvale School District is located on the ancestral and unceded land of the Moquiva Ohlone tribe, who have peacefully honored and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize that every member of Sunnyvale community continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land. We acknowledge our responsibility to learn from the wisdom of the Ohlone people and consider how we might work to repair injustices and move forward together in honorable ways. Thank you. And with that, sorry? Yes, tonight's meeting is we're gonna have, as usual, our wonderful interpreters who are doing a very important task. Can you please, the interpreters, give the directions to the public on how to access your services?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Tonight we'll be using the interpretation feature on Zoom for English and Spanish support. All participants on this call must select their language of preference by clicking the language when the host turns on the interpretation feature. This is found in the world icon located on your feature panel. Interpretation for this meeting will be conducted simultaneously. Thank you for your attention and collaboration. Buenas tardes, se utilizará la función de interpretación de Zoom para proporcionar apoyo en inglés y español. Todos los participantes de esta llamada deben seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente cuando el anfitrión active la función de interpretación. Dicha función se encuentra en el panel de herramientas en el icono del globo terráqueo. El modo de interpretación para esta reunión será el simultáneo. Gracias por su atención y colaboración.
Thank you. And at the beginning of our meeting, is there any person who would like to talk about the order of the agenda tonight in particular before we have a motion? With that, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as it is?
For recognition, can we, I don't see, I'm looking at the 6 o'clock meeting, is there another?
I think we start with the agenda and then
This
do
is
the
all one
recognition.
meeting.
Yeah, so for recognition, can we do the Santa Clara County School Boards Association first in the list?
Yes, can we start with approving the agenda?
But that is going to be part of the agenda.
Okay,
Is to,
then I make a motion to approve the.
I'll second.
okay, with that, everybody is okay with that? Say Jay? Yay, aye. There we go. We have agenda. Okay, with that, the first thing for our study session, we are going to acknowledge our dear member Nancy Newer, who is retiring today. And with that, we're gonna start with the county, the Santa Clara School Board Association. Bonnie?
So we want to really thank Nancy Newkirk for her service, her 29 years of service on this board, and also for her service to the Santa Clara County School Board Association, of which I'm the executive director. She has been amazing. She's been on our Legislative Action Committee. She's always been a good advocate for early learning and everything else that's related to our organization. So thank you so much, and we want to present you with this certificate. So come on down. And Leah can.
One, two, three. One, two, three.
And we wish you the best of luck, and we hope that you stay involved, and we really appreciate everything you've done for early learning, so in particular.
Yes, I want to set up a more formal alumni group with the.
That would be-
South County.
That'd be awesome, because Reed is here as well. and
Yes,
She wants to be
yes,
part of that as well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Should I
much.
be staying here or?
Yes.
Yeah,
And with that,
Nancy, do you want to
we
share
have,
some sit, or you okay?
yeah.
I'm okay. Thank you.
And with that, we want to acknowledge also the presence of the office of Congressman Ro Khanna, who is bringing a special recognition.
I think they're here.
Oh, they haven't arrived yet, okay. Next on the agenda, I have the office of the California State Senate, Senator Aisha Wahab office. I see.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here on behalf of State Senator Dr. Aisha Wahab. I'm proud to be here today to recognize Board Member Newkirk for her decades of service to the Sunnyvale School District and the students here in general, not just on the school board, but with your advocacy and volunteerism. I know we can expect to see that more in the future. So congratulations, thank you for your service, and thank you again for having us here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And now, we have I don't know if, well, we have the new representative. Yes, Evan Lozofi, okay. So we have the new assembly member, Mr. Patrick Agren, representing the Evan Law's office tonight. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Ahrens, and it's an honor to be presenting Assemblymember Evan Lowe's last resolution after 10 years. And he gives a fond hello to you,
Yes.
Nancy. I was just talking to him earlier today. And
I know him from his days with Elaine Alquist.
that was a long
That was
time
a while ago.
ago.
That was a while ago.
You'll have to tell me some of those stories so
Yes,
I
I
can
will.
use them against him. But how fitting it is to present Assemblymember Lowe's last resolution to someone who's dedicated so much of their time to the community, so much deliberation, policy, and just thoughtfulness for our students in our community. And it is a true honor to be on behalf of the state of California and the state legislature honoring you tonight.
Thank you.
Ready? One, two, three. One, two, three.
So thank you very much. And this is a double treat because Evan's raising up the next leadership for Assembly District. So thank you so much for coming. Yes.
Thank you. And with that, we are gonna welcome the Office of Supervisor Otto Lees.
Hi, good evening. My name is Angela Roberts, and I'm here to represent the Office of Supervisor Otto Lee from the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. I'll just keep it short and sweet and just echo what everybody else before me has said, and just congratulations. And Supervisor Lee sends his regards and congratulations on incredible decades of service and your commitment to students and public education. So thank you again and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. And with that, we And how many commendations? Well, 5 supervisors.
Oh, this means a lot to have Joe's
Oh, yes.
signature as well.
Oh, yes.
Just fabulous. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And with that, we have here the president of the Fremont Union High School District, Honorable Naomi, oh, sorry, Rosa? Sorry. Yeah, sorry. With recognition for Nancy, thank you very much for coming.
They're all coming.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So three of us are here, and by the way, I'm still president for 4 more days.
Yeah.
So kind of, okay, first question, you know, we all want to say something, and that's why we all came up to honor Nancy. So do we each get 3 minutes?
Yeah.
How that works? Okay, good. Well, Nancy, it's a thrill and an honor, and our whole board was inspired, so we created this resolution honoring your 29 years of dedicated service. Thank you so much. It's inspiring to hear 29 years. And if you have any ideas on fun things to do in retirement, could you share them? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now
Yes,
we have
we'll do
a
this later.
few other words.
Nancy, thank you so much for your tireless commitment to our students and community. I will always cherish the conversation I had with you to better serve our students, and you will be very missed, and your legacy will always live on. Thank you so much.
So, Nancy, I wanted to give some personal thank yous. All 3 of my children went through the Sunnyvale School District and during your tenure. And so they have benefited from your love of students, education, your passion, your advocacy. And so they are now, thriving young adults doing really well. And I, really appreciate the Sunnyvale School District. And I know that you were a huge part in that, in making sure that they are all successful, just like we're committed to all students being successful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Shall we,
Okay. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations again.
Yes, we will talk. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I see that there are a lot of members of the community, representatives, and honorable leaders of the community. So if anyone wants to rise up, yes, let's see, we have Honorable Julia Mulder.
Yes, you don't need to fill out a comment card this time. We'll give you a pass on it.
Nancy, I came to honor you for all your many, many years of service, not only to the school district, but for the community. You've always been willing to put yourself out and do what's ever necessary. I'm also a longtime resident of Sunnyvale, but I started out at Sunnyvale High School. And I'm here tonight to say congratulations and best wishes for your future as a longtime Sunnyvale resident and also as a director of the El Camino Hospital Healthcare District. Best wishes to you, Nancy, and thank you for everything you've done for all these years.
Thank you. Reed?
Hi, oh wow, this has been so touching, Nancy, and it's so fitting for you to have this crowd here and all these honors, and I just feel so happy that you've served for 29 years and you've put your heart and your passion into it the whole time, even when I got on the board, which was 2011, I was like, wow, you are so enthusiastic still after so many years being on the board. And here we are, so many years later, and you still have such a passion for the kids and for the community. And I just want to say thank you so much. And I'm just happy that we're here for you. So yeah, thank you.
Honorable.
Hi, my name is Paul Fong. I was recently elected to the West Valley Mission Community College District Board of Trustees. I'm an elected, what do you call it, trustee-elect. But I've been in the state assembly, and I serve in the state 22nd Assembly District here in Sunnyvale, and I worked with Nancy in a bunch of areas. And before that, I was on the Foothill De Anza Community College District Board of Trustees for 15 years. And so I had a good opportunity to work with Nancy Newkirk. And when she was in charge of the 100th year anniversary, she made it a point to make sure that she brought diversity into that 100th years celebration. And that was really very progressive of her and thinking about the whole community. And so I wanted to congratulate you, Nancy, on 29 years of service to our community. And you've been a great steward. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Linda Van Marek. I work here at the district office in special education. And when I started here 13 years ago, although I was very familiar with special education, running a state preschool was new to me. And it was a part of my new role. And Nancy has always been such a huge supporter of our early childhood program. And she just had this lovely way of partnering with me, sharing resources with me. We would see each other at committees at the County Office of Ed, and she would find resources and better the kids of our little babies coming into preschool. Nancy, you made me have the confidence to do the job and helped it grow into the program it is today, which is amazing. And it is because of your leadership. And I thank you for being so kind to a new administrator and for supporting our kids.
Doug?
Oh.
So my name's Doug Kunz, and these days I do live down in the Cupertino Union School District. But if you go a few years further back, I was a very active Safe Routes to School volunteer here in the Sunnyvale School District at Cumberland Elementary. And I organized a bike rodeo one year, and Nancy was tremendously supportive and came and helped setting up and everything. And it was just very striking to me as a pretty low down volunteer in the PTA hierarchy, how passionate you were about making sure that the kids would be safe biking to school and that they would have the health benefits of having that physical activity and also that stimulation to prepare them and settle in for the school day. So Nancy, I just want to thank you for your passion for really the well-being of the students and for rolling up your sleeves and getting involved, not just at the board level, but also down at the grassroots level too. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Ramirez, and I met Nancy when she was volunteering at the school, Nancy.
Cumberland.
No.
Vargas?
Vargas,
Yeah.
yes, I'm sorry.
Which one? I apologize.
I did not plan to talk. And before she became a school board member, and I've taught at different schools. I've been retired, 12 years, something like that. And Nancy was dedicated to our teachers and to our kids, and she would come and visit the schools. And she would come to events at the different schools. And I'm a member of ADK, Alpha Delta Kappa, which is the organization that supports Sunnyvale schools and other things in the area. And Nancy has been very, very active in supporting that too. So thank you for all of these years, on the board, but also working really, really hard in the schools. So, and congratulations.
Oh, look at that.
Well, Nancy, I remember the first time I met you was I was attending Sunnyvale's school district event as a district representative for Assembly Member Elaine Alquist, apparently long ago. I just want to thank you for your friendship, mentorship. You were very professional. You were able to center me sometimes, and also a good adversary at times. So I really do appreciate the thoughtfulness of everything you did. And Sunnyvale couldn't have asked for a better representative. Thank you.
And Thursdays go a lot faster. Now that you-
Good.
Seems
No.
very happy. That's right.
Hi, my name is Peggy Schenderster. Nancy, I want to thank you so much for setting the school district on this trajectory and foundation. I am so humbled and pleased to be taking your seat tomorrow, and I appreciate your leadership and your passion, and I'm just inspired by you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the community, and that's just a show of how important you have been to us. And if there are no more community inputs at the moment, oh, are there any comments online? Okay, with that, we all are really grateful for everything.
Are we gonna say that, should I go up there and say something?
No, you want to?
We'll just do them from here, okay.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we'll go and ask.
To start with.
Okay.
Yes, so let's start with the comments.
Sit down.
Oh.
But we're gonna make you stand in a few minutes, but we are very grateful to everything you have done for our community and our children over the years, and 29 years is a feat, an amazing feat, and we are really proud to have somebody in the community who has given such a big piece of her life to this. And with that, comments from the board?
Okay, I'm gonna be short so I don't start crying too much, because I already everyone knows I'm a crier. But I just wanna say thank you so much for everything that you have done. I think one of the things that I'm going to miss most is the long history, right? So often when we're talking about things, you can give some context or the history, and that I feel like has just been such a valuable space for us, right? To kind of recognize where we've been from, why something's done a certain way, and maybe it's oh, let's keep doing it because that, or now times have changed and we're changing. And so I will definitely miss having that in our meetings where you're able to bring that context from your longevity. There's lots of other great things, but that is the piece that I think I will miss most on the board. So thank you for everything. And here is just a little gift from the governance team. Other people contribute to it. You can open it up right now if you want. Oh, okay. But then you can just look at it briefly and then look at it more in depth later.
Wow, see what it is.
Yes. So it's just a little book with some pictures and memories and stuff. So that's why I said don't look at it too much yet, because there's lots of notes and pictures in there.
Okay.
But we just, something for you to just kind of remember your time here and the people who appreciate you. And I think they reached out to you, but Ben Picard and Annalie both wanted to be here, but they were not able to come tonight. And so they also sent their well wishes. And they're in there, but also, hey, we're going to reach out to you. They have that.
Hi Nancy, I've only been on the board a short time, especially compared to your very long career, and I have so much admiration for that. I am really appreciative that Paul Fong is here, who was the person who asked you to run for the seat, and also Peggy, who is here, who is going to be taking your seat. And to me, that's just a wonderful bookend to this particular chapter of your activism. I feel especially inspired as a woman who lives in North Sunnyvale to follow in footsteps that you have left for me, for us going forward. The disparity in the district and for you as someone who for a very long time was the northernmost trustee is something that I think we're all aware of, and that I am so grateful to you for pushing against that. When I was knocking, I heard about, stories about how the people in the neighborhood were so grateful for the trustee from North Sunnyvale, and I realized that was Nancy. This is Nancy that they're talking about. And I was just I am so grateful for your service and honored to follow in your footsteps in whatever way I'm able.
I hate following your lead. Just wanna state that for the record. Yeah, Nancy, I really think that 3 decades of service is just an incredible statement of character. And it's just a profound gift to the community. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate that. And I don't think people really understand what we do up here most of the time. But I think there's just incredibly complex problems that involve people, that involve children. And I think you've been doing this work a long time. So I just want to thank you for that and all the intentionality you bring to it. And also, we got new flowers, which are over there, but they're very far away for me to reach, so I'm gonna go get them after we, maybe they're coming.
Yes,
But I was looking for the pictures, but they're on their way, so you're also from the team. We're all together. Thank you, Linda. Yeah.
So Nancy, I want to thank you for all the support you've given me. First, when I came to the district 16 years ago in human resources, and of course, certainly the last 5 years. Those years of experience, commitment to the community, but also just deep knowledge of governance is something that I've learned so much from you about. And you've left an indelible mark on the district and on this board, so I appreciate that. And just the personal friendship too, Nancy, I really appreciate. You know too that whenever there was something sticky, I would call you. Like, what's the history on this, Nancy? What's the best way to approach this, Nancy? And so I still have your phone number. Those calls still may be coming.
Yes, you can still phone a friend.
I still know where to find you, so I just appreciate you, all the personal support you've given me, and of course the support for the district. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You gotta show her the present.
Okay, no,
Going right down the line. Okay.
There's a lot I could say, but I wanna build upon what Linda and Mark spoke to. I worked in several places and I've worked with many boards, but I can tell you, the work I've done with Nancy has been empowering and uplifting. It's wonderful to have a board member who fully understands the depth and need, in particular in special education and what it takes to educate our most challenging learners. She understands that, she provides enough push and pull, and also some innovation and tidbits along the way. So we've appreciated that. She's been with me on several positions in this district and has been of the utmost support. So, excuse me, so I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and continue to appreciate you, and I look forward to our work in the future. Thank you for all you've done, Nancy.
And Nancy, I included this in the book, but our paths kind of crossed early on. We were board colleagues when I was on the Oak Grove School Board, and then was well familiar with your work when I worked for Cupertino, finally fulfilling my lifelong dream then of working for Sunnyvale School District so I can work under your how's that for a career path? But all kidding aside, yes, 29 years is fantastic, amazing. I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes over that time frame. And then, yes, I do know a little bit of what you do up here, and it's just amazing that you were able to do it at such a high caliber for such a long time. So congratulations, Nancy. Enjoy your retirement. Jeff, yes, those Thursday nights, feel free to stop by here and just see what we're still doing. We're still picking up. We'll be here. So thank you, Nancy. Congratulations.
It's on?
Yes, yeah.
Alright. So I'll keep it brief. Great leaders inspire. And I think the inspiration that you've given us all is evident. 29 years of service says it all. And so I'm new to the Sunnyvale community, but I've seen some amazing things in just these 8 months. And again, 29 years pretty much sums it up. So thank you, Nancy.
Well, thank you very much. And before we let everybody eat cake, I just wanted to reiterate how appreciative we are of, this big chunk of your life, because there's a lot of care, a lot of love to give for so many years. And for that, we do have a recognition. Thank you for your commitment and dedicated services to the Sunnyvale School District community in recognition for 29 years of service as governing board member from 1995 to 2024.
Wow,
Thanks.
awesome.
Let's have everybody come up as trustee. We can try to do a group picture. We might need to do some chairs in front.
Oh, I haven't done a post in a while, I'll have to do it now.
Aaliyah, do you think we could all, Aaliyah?
This side over this way.
Everyone over here.
Nancy, I didn't give you a hug.
You want everybody this way.
It's been great.
Oh, I need to sit down so you can.
And it's plugged in just right under there. So we can move it a little bit. Is the cord long enough?
People are watching, so.
Who else is sitting?
Gives us a little bit
No,
more.
that's it, just Nancy.
Just Nancy.
No.
Let's do all the current board maybe.
Yeah, the current board.
Two on each side,
I got that one, I put this one over there. And then that should work. Good, this is perfect. Good thinking. Okay.
We got it, right? Come join the picture. Yes.
Yeah, come on in, come on in.
Oh, yeah.
We need to get in the picture as well. You need to get in the picture. We need to get in.
Where do we go? Who first? Aaliyah first. Aaliyah first.
Aaliyah.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Do one more. I'm counting. Say it. Nancy.
Nancy.
Thank you. And in the back. Teresa, you want to come this way a little bit? Is that better?
Everyone look at Geeta. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we're good?
She's shooting a video?
Okay.
Okay.
That was so nice. Nancy, congrats. Congrats.
Do we get a speech from Nancy?
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Would you like to? Did you want to say anything?
Nancy, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I do.
I just said that my
All right, I think Nancy wants to say something and then we'll do refreshments.
I never considered myself a politician. So I never considered myself a politician, but my husband might argue with that. It's one of those points in time that I just want to say thank you, because I couldn't have done this without you. You've all been very important touch points and companions, friends and colleagues to this journey that helps sustain me. But what's remarkable is that we're all focused on students. and we're all focused on student success. And keeping that at the core afforded wonderful opportunities as I started to navigate around and learn more about public education and work with elected officials to find those inflections and touch points, to bring the resources that not only our school district needs, but every school district throughout our state and our nation needs. And I also am so humbled by the trust and amazed that the community partnered with me on this journey, not only as an elected official, but before I got on the board, things were, if you think things are precarious now, they were really not kind. After Proposition 13, I was on the BAC Budget Advisory Committee, and we cut about everything that we could possibly do. And to say to keep it as far away from the classroom, it was in the classroom. And I wanted to make sure that people knew, and people know now, that we're doing the best job that we possibly can. We've stepped up, and we're now doing things to support children that were never imagined from a public perspective. But it goes back to our roots of that one little school in Encina that was the heart of the community. And I really want to thank everyone in the community. But I couldn't do it alone. You all joked about Thursday nights. Well, there's some people in this room who took the brunt of me not being there on Thursday nights. When you serve in public service, it's a community service for your entire family. And I know everyone on this board and everybody who's served knows about that. So I really want to thank my husband, my son, and my daughter for the gift of their time so that I could do what it is I'm so passionate about. Now, I'm going to cut this short because we got to keep it under 2 minutes because I'm a better politician in knowing not to speak too long. But I will send in my comments to you for my final comments about my activities. So when you get a chance to approve that next set of minutes for this meeting, there will be more articulate and composed prose in there, but know that you're in a fabulous position because of the work of everyone that has placed us in an enviable position in the county, in the state, and I think whatever storms that are ahead of us, when we focus, as Patrick said in his speech, about what we can do, and we'll be able to achieve and continue to achieve those goals. I'm so excited about the strategic plan and the work that we've envisioned for the next 8 years. It may happen a little bit slower than we want, but you gotta keep on going forward. So thank you.
And now, some famous word, let them eat cake. And we'll be back to our regular meeting at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay, hi Leo, hi Andrew. Hi. What?
did. She did cover that. That would have been like.
I'm not interested in improving some of the school districts, but we allow it.
Congratulations, Nancy. You notice that I didn't jump on that. Good to see I literally said that, yeah.
Ken, good to see you. Yeah, I saw that you had time.
But I really did put out, you know,
Yeah, I saw that. She's trying to make
This was still had a pass. Yeah. I got good.
Yes.
Somebody for
Much less. Good.
Goes on? All right. Hopefully this is not indicative of federal efficiency. For some reason, we had our timing off, but I'm really glad I got you before you left the building, Nancy. On behalf of Congressman Ro Khanna, we wanted to express our appreciation to you. I think that your dedication to the community goes beyond the things that you do for the school district and the multiple organizations, exemplified by the fact that one of your extracurricular activities is attending congressional town hall meetings on a regular basis. And just the other night, we had a virtual meeting and Rose like, oh, Nancy Newkirk is on. Okay, you get a question. So, and I wanted to also, just kind of like put it a little bit in personal terms. Anecdotally, myself, I've been a sports fan all my life and rooted for teams and so on, but it wasn't until my daughters started playing sports that I really knew what truly caring about a team meant. The AYSO with Go in the Rain, when my daughter played volleyball in high school, middle school, high school, I knew all the statistics and so on. It really, you just have an investment in it. And I don't know if there's anything other than, anything I've had so much investment in other than my children's education. And I think that many people have that similar experience. And the fact that school boards step up, meet the concerns of people that have such passion about the issues. I think that with all due respect for city councils and Councilmember-elect Lay is here, I think. Residents care about city politics and issues, but parents are passionate about schools and their kids' education. And the fact that the school board steps up and meets those concerns is, you're truly heroes. And Nancy, you've been a hero for 30 years. And we really appreciate it. And on behalf of the congressman, I would like to present this certificate of recognition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you. And actually, in addition, your service results in larger frames. But Trustee Eileen Lay is going to be moving on to the city council, but we did want to recognize your service to the school board and leaving for the council, and would like to present this recognition for you as well. Thank you. Okay, all right. Thanks.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Wow. 14 years old, 16 years old. And I'm like, this sounds like okay, happening on this road. I'm doing the role at a time.
Seems like a good way to do it.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, and with that, it's 6 o'clock. If you can please come back. It's 6 o'clock.
Party's over.
Party is over.
Okay, thank you very much, all of you, for coming to our events. Please have some cake before leaving and some fruit. And with that, we are moving to the next item on our agenda, item 4, which is public comments on closed session items. So if there is any member of the community who wishes to speak about this is the moment. Please raise your hand if you're in person or your electronic hand if you are on Zoom. Okay, since we have none, we're gonna move to item number 5, which is convening to closed session. And today we are gonna be talking about a conference related with labor negotiation and a public employee performance evaluation. We'll be back in 1 hour. Thank you very much. And thank you to our interpreters. We'll be back in 1 hour.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Biggest attended board.
Yes, Mike Maloney was very much.
Yes, he was, exactly, yeah. He was very, and Larry, I think, was very exciting.
I think upstairs is not that time.
Yes, it's the,
It was very strange. Was it?
yeah, they have the same ones at AT&T.
Oh, where?
Yeah, AT&T Park,
that's
the ballpark,
not-
they designed, I guess, for.
Do you think we should get new ones?
Yeah,
We are getting new ones.
I heard.
Yeah.
I
wait,
heard.
what are we getting new? Oh, we're getting what?
Six.
Nancy, did it work? That was my last ditch effort.
If you want more too, then that's great.
Nancy, did it work?
More holiday cards?
Okay. If it doesn't, you're gonna have to go hard copy, I apologize.
We'll see if the magic works. If I
Okay.
remember correctly.
Wow. You know how my son, how John was at Disneyland with my brother? And
Okay.
his girlfriend.
Yeah.
He got kicked out of Disneyland because my brother's girlfriend got drunk. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could find that many drinks in Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. And I'm also like. so-
Downtown Disney, there are people there, like, we went here last night, there were people there.
Okay, I got in, but I didn't get into Cindy.
Just drink.
I'm gonna hand you off to Jesus then, if that's okay.
I was also like super surprised John didn't say anything. I just
Seems like something you should have done.
I found out like yesterday. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be normal about this. I can't.
So I got her into the Chromebook. But can you help her get into
So they went with, John went with your
Did she
brother.
put notes in
My
there?
brother and his.
Did you put notes in there, or do you can just access the public?
No, I didn't send his girlfriend.
Yes.
His girlfriend.
So the regular name.
They were just like,
The website or the.
no, I met her for the first time
What you want.
on their Disneyland day, and it was the California Adventure Day that she
If the link is.
was partaking a little bit too.
Yeah, she would be nice.
Yeah, go to the email.
Right?
Her, your sister-in-law or whatever, like, first people. I mean, that's like,
That's.
like, yeah, mine is pink is very thinking, mine's purposely thinking. Okay, so it is, thank you, the translators are here, everybody's here, so we're gonna reopen. We don't have any comments for the public referring to a closed session, and we're still working on everything we were talking about. With that, we move to the next item, which will be comments from the board and superintendent. With that, we're gonna come down the road and we're gonna start with Nancy. One time.
I can't believe it. Where did the time go? Starting the meeting tonight felt like when I first took my oath of office, just all the excitement, amazement, all the people who were here, getting ready for the next step with a little bit of butterflies. So lots of changes, and I just want to thank everybody, and I'll continue over the next several weeks to continue to reach out individually. You did a fabulous job in your remembering. Thank you. And I'll, as I alluded to, I'm going to have a letter for my board comments that's a little bit more cogent and less emotionally charged to say, but I'm just really excited for the next steps for the board and welcoming Peggy on. Just like it was alluded to in front of Fred, it's great now because we can talk. I can talk with all of you and not have to worry about it because of the Brown Act. But as I said, the journey takes a lot of people, and I really appreciate your support over the years. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. I look forward to reading your letter. I don't really have many comments. Like, AEC was great, but I know we're gonna talk about it later. And I'm bummed I wasn't able to go to either, Columbia and Sunnyvale Middle School both had concerts this week. We had some car problems. So I was sad to miss them, but my son was able to go watch some friends at the Columbia one last night. So that was good, at least. Some representation from our family.
Yeah, I don't have that much to share. AC was a great experience. I also missed the concerts. I tried to go today to Fremont Union High School District. They had a craft fair from some of their SDC students, and that was really cool, except I walked in just as they were cleaning up. So I'll go to the next one, but I just really like that idea that.
How did you hear about that?
How did I hear about that? My friend Susan, whose son is at home.
Because I don't think I got it.
Yeah,
Maybe it was
so-
just for Homestead.
No, it was all of them. It was at the district office, and it was these kids. They had like crafts and there were candles and soaps and like little gift baskets, and they were selling them. That was really cool, but I didn't actually get to purchase anything. So next time.
I'm sending my comments in. I'm a little bit under the weather. It's not COVID, it's a cold. So that's my announcement. In general, I've just been busy with working with mostly parents and grandparents of our students over at teaching ESL and doing all their assessments and encouraging them. And it struck me this week how nervous adults are in taking tests and how encouragement can go a long way, and having them encourage each other can really help. And how much paperwork is involved for the teachers. So it's like, wow, this is a lot. But yeah, it's just really, you can see firsthand that whole bundle of nerves, for any kind of testing. And that's a good reminder, but they all did pretty well, so that's it.
So it has been, as you saw, a very, very busy set of weeks. We had the legal assembly since Monday. Last week was a full week. Before the AC, we had also a meeting with the California Latino School Board Associations. And I think everybody has been meeting, like the Hoffman Awards and SCCSBA and LAC, and everybody decided that we need to meet many times before the end of the year. So there is a sense of urgency going all around. Other than that, it was a very nice, intense week at AC. Listening to stories, listening to people. I love stories. I love to hear them. I love to extract them from people, and I love to tell them. And we got quite a few interesting stories from school, from kids, from teachers, including one that from Valley, I think was one of the most interesting stories. Another trustee who was telling us that it's going to be 50 years since the fall of Saigon, which she lived it as a teenager, and it was an incredible story getting out in the commotion of the chaos. So we have amazing people out there in our community doing amazing things, and all of them bring amazing stories, and I'm so glad and so happy to be able to listen to them. I'm so grateful. So please come and tell me yours.
So just a few updates. So this is the calendar I expect to be bringing to the board at our next meeting, which is January 16th. Okay. So January 16th is the first meeting of the year. Remember, January 27th is the day we decided for an official board information night, or should we need to fill a candidate position. That's not a board meeting. Okay, so that won't be on the board calendar, but I think that's a Monday. Then February 6th was originally scheduled as a regular governance meeting. We're going to need that meeting. Okay, so February 6th will be a regular board meeting. We're gonna have a closed session item, and we're gonna move, actually it's gonna be helpful because in the January 16th, it was too full, so we're gonna move the strategic plan goal progress update onto February 6th. It actually works out better for everyone, right? Both Mutu, who's gonna be here, and then also staff putting together the data for that. So that's February 6th. February 7th was gonna be a Friday morning meeting.
Will that be regular 6 o'clock start time?
Regular meeting, 6
Okay,
o'clock.
6 o'clock,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's what it was.
Well, no, it was scheduled for 8.
Oh, you're
to be
right.
governance, that's why I was checking.
Yeah, you're right, it was scheduled for 5 to 8, so it'll be regular.
So regular
6
time,
o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay.
6 o'clock, good point. February 7th, no meeting, because we're not gonna have a meeting on a Friday morning at that time. And then February 25th, we were talking about the next day, but February 25th works out better, I think, from the people I heard on the board. And I think it makes sense, so that's a Tuesday, will be that is an official board meeting, I guess a regular board, or a special board meeting. February 25th, that would be the day we would interview potential candidates. That would be a Tuesday, I recommend it start at 6 o'clock, the regular time. And then we have our regular meeting scheduled for the 27th, so that would be the first meeting for the new board member. So it puts a day in between it, I think that makes more sense. So that's what I plan on presenting on the 16th. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. That's all I have. Yep.
What was the date for the board information night again?
I had it for January 27th.
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock, right?
I think so, yeah.
So do we need to tweak the board meeting calendar again with this?
We will on the.
That's what he's saying, so he's giving us the dates now since we're not actually approving it until January 16th.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
that'll
because
be-
someone may resign between now and then.
Yes, okay.
That would give us cause to do that.
Makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so with that, we move to the next item, which will be item 8, comment from the Sunnyvale Education Association. If there's any member of this body who wants to speak to us, this is the moment, or the best one. Since there is none, then we're gonna move to the next item, which is item number 9, comment from the California School Employees Association. If there is any member of that body who would like to speak to us tonight, since there is none. So we move to the next comment, with the next item, which is comments from the public. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any item of interest to the public. So please, if you have any, this is the moment to raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, then we move to the next item, 11, consent agenda items. Any item on the consent agenda is subject to review and discussion prior to being approved by the board. If necessary, any items may be removed for separate action. The public may address the board regarding any items on the consent agenda. So if there is any comment from the public referring to the consent agenda items, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, then board, do we have a motion for the consent agenda items as it is?
I move approval of the consent agenda item.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any comments or questions? Anyone wanna move? Okay, with that, please, everybody who wants to approve the consent agenda items as it is, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, proof it is. With that unanimous vote, we move to item 12, review and discussion. The first item, 12A, is a debrief on the CSBA Annual Education Conference. And with that, we're gonna start down the road with Michelle.
I'm not gonna be ready to go first, sorry.
Okay.
What I would say is that I monitored the pop-ups that CSBA had, and it looked like it was an exciting time. I really wish that they would have live streamed the presentations. And I think in consideration of budgetary changes that they may want to institute some kind of virtual component over the next couple of years, because I don't believe that every board will be able to send every member. Yeah. But they all need to have that information, so delegates, that would be
It's
my,
good feedback.
that's something I would give for feedback. And hopefully all of you did your survey.
Yes. Thank you. Eileen, you wanna go?
I'm also really not ready, but I can go. So I ended up kind of accidentally following the mental health strand. There were a couple of strands, and I went through a few of those ones. I think that one started with the, did it start with the Pismo one on the first day? The one about Asian American mental health. That one was interesting as, you know, a person who grew up in this country with Asian parents, and how that affects students in certain ways. I think that is something that just having that general lens of these are how families are coming to us and these are how kids are affected by these expectations was good to keep in mind for anyone who's teaching any sort of student, but it was nice to have that articulated by those folks there. Another one I went to that I found interesting was it was from Westminster, and it was the title of it made me think it was something different than it was, because I think it was called Establishing a District-Wide Dual Immersion Program.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool, it's district-wide, all the schools are dual immersion, but it was not, that is not what it was. They have Spanish, they have a Spanish strand for some of their schools, and then they have a Vietnamese strand for some of their schools, but not all of the schools. And they also, and it was interesting listening to that, and it is district-wide. They do a 50-50 model, which is different than how we do it at San Miguel. And I thought that was interesting. And they talked a little bit about why it's hard to expand beyond Spanish, Mandarin, and to some extent Vietnamese, just because those curriculums aren't in place yet. You don't really have a strong dual immersion curriculum for a lot of other languages. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then one of those who really liked that Michelle and I were in on the last day was the
Advancing educational equity.
That's the one, advancing educational equity. I'm gonna let Michelle talk about that because my son hurt himself in that one.
So that one, was probably one of the very best ones. One, she was just like, she was so phenomenal and like real, and I just feel like I'm like, oh, could she just be like a part of our team? Cause that like urgency of like, this work, like we know it's hard, but we've got to like do it. She was just phenomenal. It's like an example of that. Like she showed a graph. Essentially, I wish I could make this like bigger. I'm looking at it right now. So she showed a graph of like student achievement, right? And so you have like a student group that's up higher and a student group that's down here and a student group here. I think one was for math and one was for English or something, right? But there was no key or legend. So she just asked the group and she just said, hey, which student group goes, like, what's your guess, right? And pretty much everyone got it mostly right. She was like, so like white would be up higher, and then Hispanic was the like low one, and then black students were at the bottom. Then she's like, if there was an Asian one, that would probably be above white. And she was just like, but there was no legend and you all knew this. And what she said was, that's messed up. And then she like goes on, but just the way she did it, it was just like so phenomenal. And so what she does is like, if you can see the graph, right? So there's this big gap, right? So imagine like, like this line, so line up here and then these two lines down here. So there's this huge gap. So she calls it the white space. And she uses that, and she could talk about that a lot in different ways, but it was just really phenomenal. But then she does this thing where she like then takes all of those lines and kind of has them all go up, so that everyone is now joined together where the gap is closed, and she has an X there, and it says X marks the spot. I will share this one slide that I'm describing to all of you guys. But anyways, there's tons more stuff from hers, but she just was super, super phenomenal. One thing that I thought was interesting, so I think it's the quote we've heard a lot. I think this was like the third person at the conference maybe who quote it. But that every system is perfectly designed to get the results it currently gets. So she talked about that a lot. And so in the context, so she then really dove into, after she kind of set the stage, she then dove into systems. But what I love is like, she kind of like set the stage, but then she went into how-tos, not just the like important or the feel good or whatever. And so then she really kind of dove into like what that looks like and kind of giving examples of like things and like unfortunately it's sometimes things that we've actually even done where she's like, people often think this is good, but this actually isn't that helpful. Which was just, so she kind of like almost flipped things on the head a little bit for some of the things that we've done. Like one example of kind of a flip thing is she, this isn't necessarily a direct quote, but it was me taking notes from what she said. She said, anti-bias trainings don't really work. And the reason she says that is because it's hard to change people, but we can change systems, right? So that's just, it was just an interesting, like, right at first it was like, what? But then as she described it and then goes in and talks about like, right, changing people is much harder, but we can change the systems. And I think, right, hopefully then also people do change within it. But yeah, that was just like super awesome. Some of the other big highlights from hers. I had like so many notes from her thing. She had this phrase, love is in the details. And she would like then give an example, give a kind of how to, and then she would kind of go back to like, love is in the details, right? And she would go through these things. So some of her examples of the good faith attempts that are maybe not actually as helpful, she said on one of her slides, like needs assessments, equity audits, school quality review, diagnostic assessments. And then she gave some examples, right? She gave like this example of a district that kind of did things that you think would be good. I'm like, this is kind of stuff we've done. And I think it's not to say like that they're bad, it's just that like, the districts who are moving the needle are not doing these things, they are actually changing their systems. Anyways, it was just very, very fascinating. I think I would recommend at least like looking into her, like I did get a book, so she'd asked people to move forward. And I was sitting with Naomi actually before Eileen, I think Eileen came in the back, right? And so like, I'm like, let's go forward. So we move forward. And so then she gave both of us books because we were the only two who like went forward. So I have one of her books now. But yeah, I mean, so I'll send some notes on, because it's my favorite one, but like, because she gave, just some good kind of details and things. And then her last thing, and this is a quote from her, she was like, if I can leave with anything else, she said, please, before you lead to solutions, check your systems. So that was her kind of whole spiel, and she was phenomenal. Yeah, that really was the best one. I think I guess the other one, like, I should have got led with that, but you commute, I'm like, nothing else compares to that one.
She was really good.
She was so good.
Yeah.
I think,
what was her name again?
Dr. Robin.
Avilar LaSalle, I'm probably not pronouncing that fully. Spectacular.
And what is the name of that particular one again?
It was called Advancing Educational Equity. So it was on the Saturday morning.
It was on the Saturday morning.
So Dr. Robin Avilar LaSalle.
She was a.
So the other one that I thought was interesting, I'll maybe just share briefly, is I mean, I love the general sessions, but most of us were there for all of those ones. I guess actually there's two that I'll share. So one, there is a film called Anxiety Nation. So in this session, we got to watch the educational cut of it, and then the woman who did it and her daughter were there, and so we only got to have like a 10-minute Q&A because the educational cut was like 50 minutes. But Anxiety Nation was really well done. And so I guess her regular one's longer, I was just gonna like buy it, but then they said educational cut. And so I was actually asking her, like, how do I get your educational cut? Because I actually want to show it to my kids. I think it would be a helpful, like, we watch part of it, pause it, talk about it. So if anyone wants, you can just rent or buy her regular one. I think you can just find it on lots of places. But the educational cut, if you happen to want to watch that one, Dr. Phil on Merit Plus, he's going to be airing it in the month of January. So yeah, so that was just really good. And then it was great that, youth, they didn't get to talk a lot, but we got to hear from her daughter, who's a junior in high school. And that was really great. And someone had asked something about like social media, like and cell phone policies in schools. And she's like, my peers might hate me, but she didn't say we shouldn't have them at all, but she's like, for sure there should be like regulations and things in place at schools to help limit the amount of time kids are on their phones. Okay, then the last one, so it was a lawyer who came and was talking about, sorry my back is like to you, just everyone else is that way, so it's kind of hard, but I feel bad, I'm not trying to like block you out.
I'm reading over your shoulder.
Perfect, so you get extra notes, there you go, let's put a post for you. So it's a lawyer who I think has kind of specialized in this space. And he just was really phenomenal, like he just had a lot of great stuff. That is more like stuff that like staff probably already knows, but just to kind of be more aware of the tricky space, essentially the Title IX coordinator, right, has to know so much stuff to navigate kind of all the tricky spaces. But what I really love, he essentially always got back to like, right, as schools and as school board members, right, like our job is to protect the safety of all students and respect and help all sides. And so I just like thought that was a reminder, right? And he kind of talked about like a lot of people sometimes think like on this gender identity thing, the two sides are competing, right? And sometimes they are, but he gave examples of like where you actually can do things to support the students who at first appear to have opposing needs or whatever. So anyways, his was just really great. And he said this is one I'll share with staff because he has quite a few resources that like people can just have for free. He kept going like, if you never want to talk to me again, like I'll give you all the things that you need, right? So he has kind of the information and things you need to kind of make sure you're in. I think he really has, as he's learned more about this, he just wants everyone to like be able to navigate this space in the best way they can. So he had some extra resources. And I think that's all I'm gonna share. But yeah, it was great. And then I think you guys who were there with me know, but I think one of the best parts of AEC is the time we get to spend together, right? Connecting, right? And having conversations and like talking together and hearing each other's lives and laughing. And so I appreciate that. It was great. And it was great to have Peggy join in with us and start building those relationships with us. Okay, Peggy.
Oh, I read. Yeah, so I think my favorite too, so I went to a couple of sessions that were actually like really not great. The billing was like absolutely not what they said they were gonna be. Like it was like what's that one we went into one and it was like it sounded like it was gonna be really fantastic. And we got in there and we're like
free speech and social networks, and it was just about
they were trying to sell us more Power School services. And we're like, what is happening here? Like, what do we walk into? And he starts like literally going like, and you click here on this tab, and we're like, we gotta leave now. We really tried to stick it out for a while, but we did. But you know, Delegate Assembly this year, what struck me was in they have different policy pillar committees, and I'm in the Improving the Lives of Children one, so you go in there and they kind of break out and talk about like where in small groups you try to put on the board like things that you want that we as delegates think CSBA should be working on. They're so closely aligned, at least in that room, with our county's goals for mental health, special education, English learners, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students. And so it was actually like really great to see that all across California, the delegates were saying like CSBA, like help us advocate for, you know, getting us out of silos and other things. And they were talking about, you know, in some of our legislative briefings, they were talking about changing the funding mechanisms for unduplicated students so that people wouldn't be counted multiple times, you would get multiple funding. So if you had a student who was in one protected group, that they would also get funding for another group. So special education, English learner, whatever. So that was interesting. And then at the Episcopal breakfast, they had Al Maritsucci, who's the chair of the education committee, speaking. And that was interesting because number one, he said, he like mentioned to the group that 1 in every 6 students in California has a family member, a caretaker who's undocumented. And so therefore, he introduced a bill, Senate Bill 49, like his first day he got sworn in, he introduced a bill to protect undocumented students in our schools from ICE sweeps or other things, just to kind of get that out there. And then later, when we were in a conversation, or listening to a conversation with Victor Rios, he was talking about being a kid, and he said, yeah, you know, when he said, I'm an American citizen, but when I was a child, my mom said, hey, if you ever see a white van show up with green lettering on it, I want you to run and hide. And he said to his mom, oh, but I'm a citizen, like they're not coming for me. And she said, oh, they could be coming for you. You need to run and hide. And so he said, you know, he was kind of connecting it to like, hey, think of all the kids in our schools right now who are having those conversations with their parents, right? Like of what could happen, just that anxiety that's like heightened for the children that are students. So that was kind of a striking thought. And then I also really liked his talk because he really flipped the script on talking about socioeconomically disadvantaged students. And he said, you know, like, I refer to them, he's like, I refer to my class that I came from as working class. And he said, you know, everyone in that family, in those families, like if you say working class, like, yeah, they do take a lot of pride in working. And versus middle class. And then he started talking about students' needs from their teachers, and he said, I think it was like, it had a slide, said 70% of low-income students or working class students reported emotional support as their number one need from teachers, compared to middle class students who, like, it was completely flipped. They wanted information from their teachers. And what he did was he gave an example and he said, you know, it doesn't take more time to be emotionally connected to your students. It just is a matter of how you're delivering the information. I think the way he said it was, imagine if it's you're teaching a class of juniors and it's college application time and you say, okay, students, it's college application time. I've got information on the universities. Up on the wall, you can see when all the applications are due. Good luck, open your pages to page 52. And he said, imagine if you said to those students like, okay students, it's college application time. I want you to know I believe in you. There's a place for each and every one of you and to further your education through college of, you know, any sort. I'm here for you if you need me. If you wanna go through any of the applications together, you know, you've got this, I'm here for you. Okay, open your book. And it was just like so, it was so interesting. And he said, you know, his own daughter says, oh yeah, you know, my teachers do that. And it's real annoying, I just want the information. And he's like, yeah, because you're a middle class kid, you know, I get to, but he said, you know, because it's just, that connection is just so important. And he talked about how he had a teacher who was saying to him like, this is the last story I'll say, but his own teacher, when he was in high school, he said, oh yeah, she goes, oh, you're applying for colleges, it's time to apply. And he said something like, oh no, I'm gonna work for $12 an hour and I'm gonna make some money. And so the teacher just kind of kept coming at him in a different angle, like, so, you know, you wanna help your mom? Yeah, I wanna help my mom. Oh yeah, well, you know, you wanna help your community? Yeah, I wanna help my community. Okay, well, then you gotta go to college, you know, and here's what you do, and you can do it, you know, and just like kind of coming at it from another angle and not just like writing it off. So I just thought he was very inspiring, and he had a lot of, you know, anecdotes, but he had a lot of data. He's been doing some consulting and research for a while. So I was like, that was by far my favorite, other than the Coursera course, which I now need to take, that we were all on mental health from the main section. That's it.
But yeah, I think has been, I just put some of the files I had in my Apple files into the drive so we can share there the presentations. And if you have some of the one that you like there, it's a shame that Dr. Rios' presentation, he didn't put it on the app. so it will be good to share with everybody. But you can go and see it and download it if you want.
This
The
was
other
the
one,
drive that Arthur, you sent it, right?
I just sent it, it's called, this
Oh,
one
you
is
started a
called,
new drive.
oh, in the
You
Google
created a
Drive.
drive?
Yeah, I just created a drive.
Okay.
Like every year I've been doing a different one. It's AC 2024 and, I'm gonna add you guys. And I add already Mike. So that will be good, so we can all, share if there is one that we miss, maybe we can just see the presentation. I did like the general ones. The first one was the best one. I had an opportunity to talk later with the lady a little bit. And the one about happiness. And I like, I think I actually like both of those. We were together, the Dr. Rios was amazing. He's always amazing. I've seen him already 3 times, and every time it is, of course, his research is on particular points about equity, so it's pretty much on the topic, but still it's always something new. Like that, the chart that he brought, I have it here also, he took a photo, about how for working class, 86% will get more of the emotional support than the informational part, while for middle class, 39%. That was a pretty good one. And then the one that said, students report low levels of teacher support were 30% more likely to engage in disruptive behavior. And he's talking about emotional guided pathways, and he gave, I think they were like 4 or 5, I don't remember. But he talked about different pathways of how to make, student center and teaching. And his presentation actually was very interesting. It was called Bloom. Mash Bloom, because Maslow and Bloom together. So, the power of emotional support. So, right.
Just real quickly, I think the highlight for me was actually the first session with Dr. Santos. I thought, as you all said, I thought that was really inspiring. Enjoyed spending a day with Peggy at the new trustee training. I thought that was really good. I like that we were able to sit with Fremont, which was also a nice benefit to start that collaboration. And then a big part of it for me is having time to speak with, for example, our attorneys, just in an informal way at the trade show floor, meeting with other superintendents, other board members locally. So just that camaraderie, and of course, our team building, I think is just really, really important. So I appreciated that.
I thought, are we not all sharing?
That's it. The dean.
I didn't compare.
Just say your one favorite thing.
You got time, you got 2 before you. So you
Doesn't
can
have to
pull
be-
out a highlight.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite, but it was reinforcing because we're working on. Yeah, I think the most productive for me was the one from Modesto, and we're actually gonna go out and try to connect with them because they are a little bit beyond where we are. And we're trying to figure out a more succinct way to look at our data through PowerSchool, and they've kind of been on this journey a little bit. It sounds like they may have some good positive input for us and our team, so we're gonna coordinate with them to go out. So that was reinforcing because that's some of the work Jeremy's been kind of helping teaching and learning with, so we can come up with the data analytics that will add a little ease, hopefully, to our data collection process, so we can do a better job of informing our instruction. So that was probably my greatest highlight.
My highlights, I would echo that a couple of the topics were misleading. I would wander in and then wander out quickly. But happy accident, wandered into a workforce housing. Exactly. So it was workforce housing, was co-presented by some presenters, and CSBA actually has a lot of resources, so I was able to gather some of that information and then see some of the neighboring projects like Mountain View, Wisman, et cetera. So that was great. And then Dr. Rios, he sent out something, so I actually signed up for a 15-minute session with him, and I was able to kind of brain dump our AI literacy concepts, and then he got me all super excited because he was like, yeah, he was getting all jazzed up about how to make like a cultural responsive component to reach out to our parents and students. So we might be cooking something up in the future with Dr. Victor Rios, and he gave me a free book too. So.
I'll keep mine brief as well. It was my first AC. I think the most impactful part for me was just the networking with other school districts and professionals, gaining cards, trade shows, and the partners there. Yeah, I bounced around to quite a few of the sessions, and like I wanted to get the slides and everything I could get, and once I felt like I got enough, went to the next and got that one too. And I would always ask, like if I came halfway through, because I was in another session, I would ask someone after it was over, what are the biggest takeaways? And so that was really, I got some really good information. I took a lot of notes. I don't have them up in front of me, but that was awesome. The second, one of the general sessions was phenomenal, in my opinion. The keynote speaker, excuse me, phenomenal. I can't remember her name, but
was it one of the tech one, where she was like a tech optimist?
She was the
or the mental health one.
Neuroscientist.
It was the first one, yeah.
The first, okay.
Yeah, that's the one Mike
I
is
thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, everyone loved that one.
It
was really good. And I think I sent out the Coursera link to
Yes.
most people. I don't remember who I sent it to, but
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty easy to find.
Those were some of my highs.
Really good.
And also, as you
I
said,
texted
just the networking amongst us. I really like hanging out with Will. Will's cool. I like Will.
Could we?
The best part was Bill.
Could I steal
The
it?
best part, I was really.
Will's just always a fun highlight.
Could I have a talking stick back for a second? Okay, I also really want to say that another highlight was winning the raffle, because that was.
Oh,
yeah.
Good job.
So,
That's good, good job. Okay, so maybe we can move to the next part if everybody's ready. Okay, that will be 212B, a review and discuss the board bylaw 92-20, governing board elections.
Okay, so there are legal updates on this. It was due to be updated. You'll see that I put in italics, I updated the part about reimbursement. So the suggested language says the district shall reimburse half the cost of printing, handling, translating, mailing, and or electronically distributing candidate statements. Basically, it's candidate statements in our county, filed pursuant to the elections code. And then the candidate may elect to decline reimbursement and pay the full cost if they like. So that's essentially a version of what we have now. In packet review, it was brought up like, hey, I heard that there's some districts that actually work with the registrar of voters so that the initial payment is only the half of a payment. So that is an option for us to pursue. You'd have to tell us what the districts are that do that. Also to consider, I'm not weighing one way or another. I think there should be, I guess I am because I'm going to say an opinion now. I think there should be some cost because otherwise you would get, if there's zero barrier to applying, then I'm not sure you'd always get serious candidates. That's just something to ponder. So then the right question I think is like, what is the correct hurdle to cross in order to run for office? And I've never run for office, you have, so you are way more qualified to answer that question than I am. So that's for your consideration.
Okay, so it's review and discussion, so we don't have to take a decision today. You want to discuss, comment that? Okay, before that, if there is any public comment on 12B, please raise your hand now. Okay, seeing none, board, do we have comments from this?
Yeah. having been the one who's done the most, with, the more frequency, I would say that a barrier is not only in getting, people who support you, but people who support you financially is a real burden to come up with that candidate statement. And if
Can you go closer to the mic? I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. It's a real burden to come up with the entire amount of that within the short amount of time that you have, because after you build more constituency after you become a candidate than prior. So I'm comfortable with the half if you can work with the district to, district and the ROV to have that be compensated such that only half of the amount would have to be come up with. Because frankly, a lot of potential candidates, it's in my experience that is a barrier, and personally, sometimes it is because you have to front it. The reality is you have to front it and then you try to pay for things in arrears with campaign donations and other. And I do believe skin in the game is important, but
Yeah.
because the amount of the funding for the ballot statement continues to increase, not decrease, that's the biggest expense that a candidate has.
Do we know what the cost was this time?
3,000.
3250.
Oh, it's not that significant.
Yes, I mean, when you're talking about investing more than you receive for an entire year's worth, should you become an elected official, that to me is really egregious. And
Does anyone know the districts that do it the way that,
Fremont Union High School, I think.
oh, they do?
yeah.
Okay.
And there were
Well, that's a
several others as well, like, and you can
Yeah.
actually see it on the ballot, like when you're applying, when you're
Okay.
putting your papers, so the ROV definitely knows. And they said, oh, you reimbursed? We didn't know that, like, we would have put that on the ballot, we could have worked, so we're like, oh, wow. So,
Okay.
but I think there's a possibility for them to do it, and I would also agree that, like, you know, I really thought that going to trustee areas, because we had less voters, that we would be, I mean, it actually went up from from 2018 to 2022, and we were in trustee areas, and I remember going, what? You know, I thought it was gonna be less, and it was more. I just didn't understand, and then, you know, I'd asked, and they said, well, you guys signed it, you would pay that much, and I was like, I thought it was overall to be split or something, I just didn't understand what we were doing, so, even if costs have gone up, I think that we should, I think doing it through the ROV, offering to cover half is completely reasonable.
So I don't know how workable this is for the district, but what the city does is that in lieu of the payment, I collected signatures. And so the way that worked was that I collected 100 signatures from people within Sunnyvale District 6, and if I needed like 20 or something to qualify for the ballot, just to show the city that I was just some random person. But also if I got up to 100, I think it was 100% covered by the city. And so if I had only gotten 50, it would have been 50% covered. I don't know how workable that is as a solution.
Yeah, I think we used to have something similar, but we don't have any mechanism to verify signatures or addresses.
Right, and I think that had to go through the ROV.
Yeah, and they don't do that for school districts.
Okay, they don't do that for school districts, okay, yeah.
But
'Cause
yeah,
that
no,
was-
that would be good.
Yeah, cause that was good, because at that point I hadn't had a kickoff, I hadn't started raising money yet, and I would have had to front that whole amount, and especially to families that are, to Bridget's point, working class, that's a lot of money, that's like a month's rent. That's or more, that's, and if we talk about wanting full participation from our community, and to me, that includes on the days. So to whatever extent we're able to alleviate that burden.
There was a district where they said regardless of what the calculation was, it was gonna be, I don't remember what it was, if it was like no more than 1,000, like they just said it'll be $1,000, so whatever it went up to, it wasn't like half, it was like this is.
Like the candidate would just
The
pay
candidate is
1,000,
gonna
the
pay a
district would
flat.
cover whatever other.
Yeah, so we could look at that too.
Well, you should tell me what you want us to do, because we'll bring it back next time.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, so I think it sounds like everyone is for sure in agreement of we like the half, but an automatic half, not a reimbursed half,
I think
right?
I'm hearing.
And so the question is, do we want something different than that, or do we want that?
Yeah, because I like also the idea to put just a top, so no matter how much it grows, because it's interesting that we just have 20% of the population, but it's even more expensive than it was before somehow. So if that keeps growing, then it might, hinder the ability of some candidates to run.
I don't know if I love the idea of I would be okay making it like a higher percentage of 50%, but I don't think I wanna do a flat number, because then that means we either have to check back fairly regularly, or like, that's pretty much nothing in 10 years, right? So I don't think I like a flat idea, because that requires more work down the road, but like, if we wanna make it more like that, then we maybe say like 35% or 40% of the candidate statement you have to pay out of pocket. Were you gonna say something, Bridget?
Well, I was gonna say, like, would it be possible for like the district just to do the research with the ROV to find out what the other fees are? Because I think the district that was doing that was trying to recruit from their community that was a working class community, so maybe, I wanna say, I don't know if it's like Oak Grove or Franklin McKinley, it's like somewhere on the east side maybe. But the ROV would know what they're doing.
Or like Orchard is a district.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure I know what you're asking.
If you ask the ROV, like.
How much other districts are charging?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
making people pay?
For districts that are trying to like, who are covering the cost, is it half or is it like?
Is it a flat?
A fee like?
It's probably easy to just ask the districts, but yeah.
If you could find that out, I think.
Okay, so do you not wanna bring it back final next time?
No, maybe just bring the option, like what you learn from that.
Okay, so not on consent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that, there's no time sensitivity on this, right?
No, I just don't
Yeah,
want
we
to.
have to.
Yeah,
more
we don't want
meetings.
this, we don't want this to take forever.
Yeah.
So the question is, how much time will you need, given the fact that it's the holidays, to actually?
Well, we have 2 years until the next election, so we can.
Well, he said bring it back next
Yeah,
meeting, and so I'm just
I see.
checking in.
yeah, so if you told me, make it half, right, and have the district pay for it, then I'd call Fremont tomorrow and say like, how do you do that? And they'd tell us, and then we'd bring it back to that language, we'd look at their language, and it could come back on January 16th. It's not that much harder to find out like what a couple other districts do and come up with an option.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking half is right, then tell me that. If you really are interested in other options, then tell me that too.
Is it half but it's reimbursed?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's what's correct.
So that would be the only change, is that it's half but it's upfront.
Right,
Okay.
so we'll bring you back different options.
Okay, so let's move because we have a.
Action?
Yep.
Yes,
Review and action, number 13.
yeah, we have a few hundred pages document here to take a look at.
Well, we're not gonna read them all.
Yeah, with that, we move to the next item, review and action, which is item number 13. And the first one will be 13A, which is the first interim budget report and positive certification. For that, please, we have our CBO talking about that tonight.
You guys mind if I present from here?
Yeah, that's.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Mark Cuffey, the Chief Business Officer here at Sunnyvale School District. Here to present the first interim budget to you. So I like to ground us, I always like to ground us in our purpose, in our promise. Every student is known by name, strength, and need, ready to excel in high school and beyond, and lead a life of joy and purpose. And so that's the through line that connects every adult in our system. That is our goal, that is our bottom line. And so I'll jump directly into my presentation. I'm a bit of a theme. I think you'll catch it after a while. It's not that simple. Now you might be asking yourself, what does that mean? Means that the work that we do and the how we get to that promise can become complex. But I believe it's the job of us as leadership to understand all of those complexities and then simplify it. It doesn't make it simple, but it allows us to focus and put all of our energy where it matters the most to get the outcomes we want for our kids. So in modeling that thing, simply put, the purpose of this item here today is for you to hopefully at the end of this report to certify and certify that our district will be able to meet its financial obligations for the current and 2 subsequent fiscal years. I think it's pretty straightforward that after you see the presentation, you will agree that we will be able to do so, but it's not that simple. We also want to acknowledge some of the challenges in front of us, primarily being the structural deficit that we have to deal with. Roughly 85% of all of our costs comes from staffing. So we could cut every pencil, every bit of toilet paper, every crayon and ink cartridge, and still not close the structural deficit. Can't do it without looking at staffing. And so tonight we'll talk a little bit about that, see if this is working.
Move to the next slide.
Next slide, there we go. All right, so first slide is students and staff. So pretty straightforward. The blue line that is in front of you is our enrollment. So we've had declining enrollment over the past several years. The orange line is our staff counts. So simultaneously during declining enrollment, we've had more staff come on board. The 2 most noteworthy things that you'll see here are lately we've seen a significant bump in enrollment primarily due to TK. So that's something we will need to watch closely. TK is a fairly new mandate that comes with no additional funding. It's a great service to our families, but that does put additional pressures on our system. Another thing to point out is the largest increase in staff has happened over the same time frame that we were given a lot of one-time funding to help offset some of the increased needs post-pandemic. And so just wanted to point that out. Next slide, it's still not. There we go. So student to staff ratio. Now, before you are some numbers, and they don't necessarily seem that significant upfront. To go from a student to staff ratio of, around 10-ish to 7, it doesn't seem like that big of a difference. But it is 30% more staff per student compared to 10 years ago. Now, to put some context to that, if we were to staff at the same ratios of 10 years ago, it would yield a $44 million a year difference that is significant. Now, in the process of kind of reflecting over a sizable change like this one over the last 10 years, it's important to consider the impacts on student achievement over that same period of time. Similar to what you spoke about earlier, Michelle, kind of just assessing our system. And I think we all would agree that our achievements haven't been where we would like them to have been over these last 10 years. So just another data point that I think is relevant to bring to this conversation. Next slide. So next, we have our personnel costs. So the numbers you see in front of you are in thousands. The story here is costs are up about 60% over the last 10 years. Now, on one hand, this is a real win for us. We're able to attract and retain the best and the brightest because it's our staff that does this important work for our kids. The way I see this is there's a duality to it. It's a double-edged sword. We enjoy, increased revenue because the area that of Sunnyvale has, properties that have great values, and that funds us through the property taxes, the great things for our revenues. The other side of that is the staff that we have to employ have to work in a commutable radius. So they have to actually pay to live around here. Not so good for our expenditures. So, there's two sides to that, kind of a double-edged sword, but definitely part of the story and very relevant. Next piece is over the last 5 years, we've had an average of about $4 million of one-time funding that has helped us support some of the increased needs post-pandemic. These funds are expiring. It just puts additional pressure on our system to continue the services that our students have needs for. So here you'll see just a pretty simple graph of our revenues versus expenses, couple years prior and a couple years projected into the future. Now, the way the funding works is some of the years prior, we receive the funds and we have to recognize that revenue when we receive it, but it might not be spent it might be spent over the span of several years to come. And so you'll see that the revenues kind of start on this graph higher than expenditures, but we're at the point where that's turning to the opposite. Now, when you talk about a structural deficit, that's when you filter out all the one-time revenues and you filter out all the one-time expenditures. So when you do that, we see that we do have a structural deficit that we have to address. And next slide. So here's from the first interim report. I like to kind of lay out all of the assumptions that go into the budget projections. So the very first one, I always want to show our property tax per student. People will always ask. So it's right there in the budget book. Next would be the property tax growth, a pretty important piece of our assumptions. This is it's a very complex process to get to this. And like I said before, it's our job to take something really complex and simplify it down. So we'll talk a bit more later about property taxes, but the one thing I wanted to point out is I also have basically the cost of, or the dollar amount associated with 1% additional property taxes. So last year, at the very end of the year, we were hovering around 3.5% property tax growth. Very end in June, some very large change in ownership and construction projects completed, the Google projects added $750 million to our property tax and those new assessed values, bumped it up to 5.5, 5.6 some odd percent. Going forward, there are factors that would lead us to believe that a bit more modest assumption would be prudent of us. And I'll get to that in a later slide. And last on this slide is our projected enrollment. So in the short term, we're forecasting increased enrollment, and that's again primarily due to TK. Over time, as that shakes out and kind of goes through our system, and our older cohorts and grades progress, we do forecast that we'll get back to slightly declining enrollment, but that uptick in enrollment currently does come at a price. One last thing I want to point out is in the next few years, we will likely have to start to look at facilities, expanded facilities to house our TK programs. So that's another pretty significant deal. So slide 2 of the multi-year assumptions. I always like to put a line item in there for total LCFF entitlement per student, just for reference purposes. Next will be our parcel tax revenue. So we're super excited that we can now put those assumptions back in there, that the parcel tax revenues will be there. And I just wanted to take a second to say that the support of the Sunnyvale community is amazing. I mean, again, I think it's all you have to do is look at 29 years of service, and that says it all. From our parents, our parent groups, our foundations, the passing of the parcel tax, the passing of the bonds, and all the support in us doing so. It's just been amazing to be around and be a part of it. The last significant piece that we put into our projections would be, I always like to put that line item down at the bottom, the settled raises. So we're in year 3 of 3 of the raises that we negotiated in prior years. So that is in our projections, but it is noteworthy that there is nothing assumed in our budget going forward after that. All right, so now we'll take a brief moment to dive a little bit deeper into our revenues and our expenditures. So we'll start with revenues. Revenues, again, we are primarily funded by our property taxes. So there's so many, this is where the complexities come in. There's so many factors that go into how do we forecast what the revenue growth is going to be, the property tax growth is going to be in the years to come. That is a very complex task. And so many data points and so much research, so much time goes into that. But I won't take too much time on that. The relevant pieces that I want to just note are this is driven by 2 main factors. It's the change in ownership of properties and the new construction of properties. Well, what are the driving forces that make that, that fuel that or not? The national economy, state economy, and local economy. Quickly, on the national level, we've seen really strong growth, economic growth over the last few years. However, with the new administration, there's a lot of uncertainty at risk, whether it be the talks about trade wars, tariffs, etc. The lead economists are forecasting inflation will probably increase if these policies are enacted. And so there's some risk out on the horizon with that. That comes back to how many homes and properties are sold or built. On the state level, while the education budget is pretty insulated from the financial woes of the state at this point, that's a short term. The state budget is insulated short term, but I think it is very relevant to understand that in the total budget at the state level, they are also dealing with structural deficits. And that puts some of the funding for programs in jeopardy for us. Local level, the demand for residential homes around here remains very strong. The story really goes back to commercial real estate. So commercial real estate is something that we're keeping a very close eye on. There's organizations that keep track of the office space, and it is still empty, relatively empty. A lot of people are still working remotely. So what that has done, because the demand for those spaces are down, values of those properties have also gone down. So to start the year, our assessors report have not been as positive as even the rest of the county. And it's because of the Prop 8 reductions. When an investor buys a property at a higher value, or the peak of the values 2 years ago, let's say, and this year the value is lower, they can put in that request to be taxed at the lower rate. So a lot of those have come in. It is impacting our revenues, and so it's something we keep track of. On the expenditure side, so there's just two major takeaways I want to point out here. The majority of our expenditures are in our personnel. I think that's clear. Second piece, on that bottom yellow strip, if you exclude the 2 first years of the pandemic, you have 5 years of expenditure increases. And over those 5 years, we've averaged an increase of 11% each year in total expenditures. Now, our ongoing property tax revenues have not grown at the same pace. And therein lies your structural deficit. So all of that kind of boils down into this slide, which is a look at our reserves. Now, again, pretty simply, what we're here to do is certify we will be able to meet our financial obligation and the minimum reserve level of 3% for the current and 2 subsequent years. And as this slide shows, we will comfortably be able to do that. But it is very important, and this board has passed a resolution understanding the importance of when you're a community funded district, there's a lot more risk to your funding. And it is imperative to keep reserves higher than the state minimum. And so our target is 20%. You'll see that although we don't have to report the 27-28 fiscal year quite yet, we will at the adopted budget in June. We like to look out a little bit further, and so staff has been working diligently since August on identifying things and going through the process. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But even with the reduction in costs that we've identified, we have still not closed that structural deficit completely. We've made some progress, but we haven't closed it completely. And so,
A clarifying question.
Sure.
So can you say what you mean by you've looked at you've cut some costs or something like?
Yeah, so we've been looking at positions that were funded through one-time funds, which is like something you typically don't do, but everyone did it during the pandemic. So there are some positions that we've been looking at carefully, like, okay, which ones do we want to continue? Which ones can we simply just not afford? Because we can't afford all of them. We've been going through contract by contract and saying like, okay, where can we save some money here, some money there? to really start to right size. And so all of that has, and I put that in the weekly.
Contracts for like different vendors or
Yeah,
consultants and things like that.
Consultants for Performance Fact,
Right.
New Teacher Project, just a couple
Sure.
of them off the top of my head.
And is that personnel people?
Contracts are not personnel.
Okay, they're
Right.
not salaries.
So, but the one-time funds that we're talking about, we did fund some people out of that. We're committed to doing whatever we do without layoffs, so just through attrition.
That was the question.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get to some of that,
Okay.
and we'll do questions at the end.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
one.
Yep. So I think it's significant and relevant for us to understand that this is a challenge that we do need to address. And again, this is without any assumed increases to salary. So the work has been going on, the work continues. And so I wanna kind of end us here with our equity statement. Working without a structural deficit, I think it's important to engage in the reflective practices identified in our equity statement. So the equity statement talks about the evaluation of resource allocation, the examination of policy and practice. It's exactly what we've been doing. Research says to see measurable impact on student outcomes, the ideal class size is 12 to 15. The impacts are substantially higher in younger age groups. It suggests that for the more incremental ratio changes, like from 25 to 22, it's harder to measure success and outcomes, which challenges conventional ideology that more is better. To that I say, it's not that simple. The challenge is to take all these complexities, all of this data, all of this research, and simplify it down to a workable plan. That not only allows us to meet our financial obligations, but do so in a way that brings out the best outcomes for our students. And so I'll close us out on our promise. While we acknowledge there are challenges in front of us, we have to circle back to our guiding principles. Why we're all here. What you see on that screen is why we're all here. We intend to work collaboratively to be able to keep Sunnyvale that unique destination district for not only students, but also staff. And although the details of how we do that can get complex, the what and the why are not. We made a promise and we intend to fulfill that promise. So with that, we can move to all the questions the board has.
Thank you, Albert. Arthur, I'm just thinking that we need to first start with comments from the public. Do we have any? Okay, seeing none. Are we gonna, what is that alarm?
Yeah, the
So we get scared? Okay. Okay, so, and apparently we are dreaming of 7 skinny cows.
Just keep going.
Jesus. No. Budget. Okay, so.
Public comment.
Public comment.
No, we already have, we don't
Okay,
have, no,
so-
we are ready in more comments, so, but we don't, there is an action, so before we start commenting, we need a motion.
I move approval of the 2025 first interim budget report and positive certification.
Any second?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, with that, we can start commenting. Apparently, we are looking at, 7 skinny cows or something coming 7 years of skinny cows.
It's a, the
I'm not
famine,
familiar
the
with
Bible.
Oh, sorry,
It's
that's a biblical reference, so.
Yeah.
Joseph and the.
The 7 fat cows and the 7 skinny.
Yeah, it's like seven years of abundance and 7 years of famine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
Ups and down in economy and that was just yeah.
Well, actually, I mean, with that, now that I get the reference.
Yeah.
So if you look at the revenue side of it, Arthur referenced this, Proposition 8, like he said, allows property owners, so it could be homeowners. In our district, I've said this before, we're sort of blessed with a diverse portfolio. So it's good. So we have a lot of commercial industrial that other districts don't have. We also have a lot of homes. And so that, it's good to be diverse, I suppose. The Prop 8 is really affecting our revenue projections right now in the commercial industrial, as he referenced. I would anticipate that that will not go on forever, right? So once property values sort of settle out, then they'll start to, again, in the commercial, they'll start to increase at a typical rate again. The other thing that's impacting that is projects that are being developed now often were planned and financed maybe before the pandemic, right? It takes a while to get things going. And so I'm actually thinking about interest rates. So the higher interest rates slowed the planning for further development. So as those start to ease, or not just people, corporations get used to a new normal on actually historically typical interest rates is kind of where we are now, maybe a little high. Then development will continue. So I see the revenue side as something that's real for right now. It won't be real it's not going to be a challenge forever. It's going to return to normal. But I think we're in for, particularly this year, a challenging revenue year. Now, what could happen is at the state level, it looks like there's going to be some surplus funds. We always look, as a community funded district, we always need to look at what are possible one-time funds that come, right? If one-time funds come, that might ease our landing. It might allow us to continue some positions that have been funded previously through one time longer, but it's just slowing the change until the ongoing revenue continues. So those are the challenges. On the expenditure side, in summary, for a while there, we were declining enrollment, which was good for us. We could have fewer teachers. You saw that little kick up with TK, so we don't enjoy that anymore. So for a couple of years there, we were able to keep reducing staff, teachers, and it wasn't really felt. And then now we can't do that anymore. So we're every district is really unique. We're particularly unique where our revenue is declining and our expenditures are increasing. It won't be forever, but that's where we are right now.
Because right now we added a whole grade, so we're gonna be, even though even though we're having less students, we are not really having less students yet, but there is gonna come a moment between when the natural attrition are 20%, and probably the funds will catch up with us before we start getting scared.
Well, I don't know about scared. Jeremy in January is gonna do the enrollment projection report, so that'll give us more information about that. What I think what the preview is, bump up another year and then start to level off, and then maybe some gradual declines.
Yeah, flat into next year and then 40, 50 students.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, we are not scared yet, and in the metaphor of the cycling ups and down of the economy, I suppose the cows are in a healthy weight for now.
Well,
They are not fat, not skinny. They are,
no, I think the.
So here's
they're
my.
skinny, okay, that's bad.
Don't put the person, so here's the important part. I think based on the great leadership that came before me, we have a really healthy reserve. When you have a healthy reserve, it gives you runway. In that runway, you can practice things like attrition. You can factor in how can we right size staffing, let's say, in a way that leads to the best outcomes for our students, less impactful to our staff. Again, we're in this together. Like our labor partners, our staff, they are truly our partners. They're the ones doing this incredible work. So that reserve gives us some time to figure out the best way to do these complex things, right? So the work ensues. It's not that simple, but it is the work that we are in. And again, it all goes back to that right there on that screen. Maybe we have to rethink certain things, but if everything we talk about and everything we do goes right back to that, then we're on the right track. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think in the last several years, I mean, we could all list off several things that we've done that were fantastic. Transportation, investment in child nutrition, instructional coaches. We increased the budget for deferred maintenance to take care of our buildings. There's a bunch of things that we did, and that's great. We increased social services for kids. We increased bilingual paraeducators, and we could go on and on. All these things are good. We are not we're in a position now where if we have a good idea that costs money, we're looking for other things to save before we could even think about. Yeah, we're not in a position where we can spend more money on a new idea until we make these other reductions over here and then find a way to pay for that. Which is not as much fun or creative. Well, it's creative, it's gonna be creative, but not
Creative in different ways.
in a different way. Yeah, and sometimes, what do they say? What's the invention, mother of invention?
Yes.
Scarcity or something. Necessity or scarcity, yeah.
I have a few questions. I think you were saying that the commercial real estate in the school district is more of an impact than the residential?
Right now.
Right now. So does this take into account the new buildings that Sunnyvale is putting in Moffett Park and then the potential like CHIPS facility that's coming in? Or is that just like way too far in the future?
Moffett Park, I would say is
That's like
still
5 years.
See, that's,
Yeah.
I'm very optimistic, 5, 10, certainly 15 years out, very optimistic.
Yeah.
It's just, we gotta get there.
Yeah.
The CHIPS building, I think, is closer than some of the Moffett Park development, and that will be a big help for us.
Have more like diversity in the portfolio and
Yeah.
stuff. So is that accounted for? Is that, because I personally feel like with the new administration that's a little bit in a gray area, but are we factoring that in?
Factor in what exactly?
Whether or not the Trump administration is gonna put a CHIPS facility here, even though Biden-Harris committed to.
Well, they're already starting that.
Yeah.
It's already started.
So.
I wouldn't put it past and like, put it in Texas or something though.
So yeah, if you look.
Yeah.
If you look at the assumptions in our property tax growth, this year we're forecasting this year will be the worst of all the years to come.
Right.
We are anticipating seeing growth come back. But yeah, at this point, like the measurables are not, we don't have a ton to go off of, but based on what we have, I'm very comfortable with the assumptions that I put in there. Again, we could talk for an hour on how I got to those, but yeah.
So what I'll say, when we had challenging economic times before, it was important to have that, it was important to have the mantra that programs are people. And when we had zero COLA times, programs for people and it was understood and a value that we wanted to try and maintain the course, so people made individual sacrifices as far as not getting additional monies or looking at other ways of compensation. I don't think we're there yet because we are thinking ahead and planning strategically. But it's one of those things that we as a board need to remember, what was said, that you can't be additive right now unless you have something that's offsetting it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say subtractive, but offsetting.
Yeah.
And that even goes to the board budget. So as I alluded to before, we may be in a time where we can't go to everything that everybody can't go to everything that they want to go to. That we need to be smarter and strategic about engagement and activities. But I think you're in good stead. It is a concern going from 32% reserve to 17%. That is the biggest drop I've experienced in my time. But if we're strategic, I think we'll be able to handle some of the additional unknowns at the federal level. Some of the money, once again, optimistic out to the out years. Some of the deferrals that the state is going to be doing, we will get money back, but it might not be a fast thing. So we can still have the promise we made, and we can still make progress, but it may not be as rapid as we would want it to be. So that's my thoughts about that. And I think we have a really awesome new fiscal corporate CBO who gets it real fast. And so I'm excited in your presentation and helping the community and the board understand where we're at.
Thank you.
Because we need to bring everybody along in this. So thank you.
Okay, so if we don't have any more comments?
I just have real quick.
Okay.
One, I just want to say thank you so much. All the information is super helpful. And then this is totally not important, I'm just explaining the meeting. But when we looked at the property growth, like when there was like ups and downs, like that high peak where you then went down, I'm just saying that was the exact same time that I bought my house. And I actually just recently looking at like it literally was a 650%, like from the previous owner, because she was like a original owner, 650% increase in property taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, so with that, I think, yes, I think we might be getting done with this. Again, thank you for all the work put in here and for all the goals behind this work.
Make sure you
Here
vote.
are our goals. So with that, we had the motion, so now we can vote. If everybody would like to approve this, please say aye.
Aye.
I didn't hear Nancy, but I suppose you
I
said
said
aye.
aye.
Oh, okay. Okay, with that, we have unanimous ayes. With that, we move to the next item, which is 13B, Delegate Assembly Election Nomination. There will be a new election. We are missing, who is to talk with this? You have to talk?
So I just wanted to say, initially I was thinking I was gonna put my name in for delegate assembly, but I am not, because they are down. Do we wanna talk about this, or just in briefly,
The general thing is that out of 7 people, we lost 3 positions, so there are only gonna be 4 positions. So, and looking at who already put out their proposition to run, I I mean, we already have like 6 candidates going right now.
Oh, more than that, there's a lot more, but also there's a lot of people, like, if you look at who's already on delegate assembly and like, who's positioning to run, it's so heavy in the North County, right? And so like, Naomi Nakano Matsumoto, who's currently president of APISMA, she's gonna run. And, there's and Shali, who's gonna be president of the Santa Clara County School Boards Association, she's gonna run. They should both probably be on delegate assembly. Like they both should probably have that information and that like networking and connection. And then you know, because Isabel and I are on the same board, it just feels weird to like run for it, you know, because I'd be running against Naomi and Shelley and, you know, like I wanna support them in it, and then there's, who's the other incumbents there? Oh, Vaughn Lay and George, and you know, Vaughn is, I think she's the only Asian member of the delegation right now, and she's East Side High School District.
Yeah.
Wow. And then George is just super involved. And then even if for some reason they didn't go through, Daniel Cohen, who's from the west side of the county, from Campbell, she's been on there for a really long time. And Teresa Bond, who lives like in one of our few rural districts, and who's the former chair of the Ledge Action Committee, she's gonna run. So just like geographically, it doesn't even make sense for me to put my name in, but I'm saying like, if, you know,
And I
there's
think
a lot going on.
Jose
So
is
if you're
not
gonna
running,
have
but George.
discussion, you should have a motion. I understand, like, you wanna introduce the topic, but.
Well,
if
it
there's
sounds like we're not
discussion-
making a motion.
The topic, yeah, and then I think Jose is not running again, but George is taking his spot.
Jorge or?
Jorge, no, Jorge probably will run actually, he has to say.
So we need to.
So I don't need to make a motion, cause I don't need to.
Well, we need to have a motion for further discussion, because we're actually now discussing.
What should the?
Okay, so
We have been presenting what is the situation, and so we are not gonna submit anything.
No.
And we'll discuss in January. But does anybody want to run for delegate assembly?
So in order to have that question, we need to have a motion.
So what should the motion?
Yeah, so the question is, we don't
Okay,
know.
what would you like the motion to be? Can we, let's make a motion to discuss
Yes.
that nobody's running.
Right, I'm gonna make a motion that we have a discussion about running and whether or not we want to nominate anyone, whether or.
And from
whether
any
or not
board.
For any board.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll second.
right now, we cannot nominate any other person in the board that we don't know, but we can
We could.
No, you
Huh?
can't.
I believe Michelle was the second.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the second?
So it's just, we just started a discussion, like, we just weren't following our blood name strings, like, we didn't quite follow our board policy. You two talking was fine, but once we started talking, the motion should happen, and then just finish the chat of kind of what you asked, like, does anyone else? You're not gonna throw your hat in the ring, does someone else want to?
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, so she doesn't wanna
that's
run, and we don't have 100% sure that these people that we talk at the end are gonna file their papers, so. Like, for example, Jorge said 2 months ago that he would, but he hasn't said it again. He may or may not change his mind.
And there won't be an appointment because Jessica Spicer is gonna stay.
Yes.
She's gonna stay on because just because she's going to the county board of education, because she's still on a county board, she can stay. And Jorge could run again, but I really don't think that like countywide, I mean, even though he's amazing, I don't know if we'd wanna have 3 county board members on our delegation.
Yeah.
I don't, that would be tough.
So you guys think that there are gonna be at least 4, there's gonna be 4 seats up, is that what you're saying right now?
There's only 4 seats up.
They're gonna be.
And you
sure,
think that
so-
there is gonna for sure be 4 people running?
Oh, they're gonna be like.
Yeah.
Probably close to 8, but at least 6.
Okay, that's fair.
And I think
Without Bridget.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, I think the people from the north side that we would wanna have on there would be Shali, cause she's gonna be the president of the county association, and Naomi, cause of her work with the APISMA.
Okay.
And
So no nominations from us, I think, today, right?
I think so, I mean.
Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, should we vote or?
I mean,
Yeah.
is it, so the other question is it important or
Motion was
not
first
to,
discussion.
nominate Naomi, because sometimes that having multiple districts can elevate the step.
We can vote for her in January, but I will wait because the
I think her
process
board,
is
I think
gonna.
her board nominated her.
Yeah, the board nominated her in this case because she might, I mean.
So
Rosa's
what
gonna
Nancy
be-
is saying
Can we just nominate more than one?
Like, do we want to elevate her by giving her a second nomination? And not just like, it might elevate her, it might.
Well, you wanna nominate only Naomi or you wanna nominate two people?
Can we
Out of
nominate?
the people,
You
only
can-
Naomi?
If,
I don't know the rules on it.
so
I think
yes,
you can
we
nominate multiple
we can
people,
we
but
can
I think
nominate multiple people, we just need to connect with them and say, hey, we put your name in. Is your district doing this?
So if we
That's just
nominate
gonna
Naomi,
sell-
do we wanna nominate anyone else?
I leave it up to the two of you who know delegate stuff best if we want to nominate somebody or not.
Well, and I
Well-
don't know, most of them.
I mean,
are
I think
friends.
like the people who I'm worried about, I mean, I'm a little worried about Shelley getting in there because, I mean, she just has to come off and say that I'm gonna be president, you should send me. But I don't think that we need to, because I think that part of going through the delegate process is having your board nominate you and do that, right? Like,
Well, you can,
I mean, you can get another board to nominate you as well. I don't think it's gonna make that much difference. I don't think people pay attention to that.
Okay, I mean, because of the tightness, it might make a difference, but I'll defer if you're sure that these people will be nominated by the board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Okay, that's
So then I think we're done with our discussion.
Yeah.
Well,
That's good,
with
so we don't have
that,
to approve.
then we move to the next item, which will be item 14, if everybody is okay with that. That will be future meetings and adjournment. So we're gonna meet tomorrow. We're gonna start at 10 a.m. It's a regular board meeting. It should be a short meeting. Is it gonna be online and in Zoom or just us here?
Yes.
Okay, so it's gonna be on Zoom. Are we gonna have translators too?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we wait for some of you tomorrow. Thank you very much to our translators tonight for such a wonderful and important job. And we'll see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Meeting adjourned at 8:49 or 48 or 49?
8:48.
Charity's out of his chair already. Where did Arthur go? They're just
Thank you,
gone.
everyone.
I just missed them.